In Business News.
I'm going to be kind with you and have this in English. You can chip in Greek anytime you feel like. I know you speak good Greek.
Μιλώ, δεν μιλώ ελληνικά.
Μιλάς λίγο.
Λίγο. Αφού και είμαι τελευταίος.
Γι' αυτό.
Κατάλαβες.
Και κουράστηκες. So, John, we just saw on the video quite an impressive portfolio of assets. And if somebody goes into your website, I mean, there's even more properties, which really shows a very, very, very large and diversified portfolio of properties in the UK and not only. I understand that it all started with the purchase of a single studio apartment.
That's right. Sorry, did you finish your question?
Yeah. I was wondering. I mean, how did you start from a single studio apartment to what you have today?
Well, I bought a studio apartment for 27,000, and I refurbished it for 10,000.
When was that? What year?
In Finchley, that was when I was 20 years old.
Okay.
I'm 53 now, and 4 months later, sold it for 25,000 profit. And I thought this was, good business.
and clearly you continue to be in a good business. So what would you say were the key milestones in your entrepreneurial journey to date, and what were the biggest challenges that you faced along the way?
Milestones and challenges. Challenges was to convince the bank to lend me the money. At a young age of 26, 27, 28, when I started buying £1 million properties, and then you get to 100 million, and then they start thinking about, who you are and what you've done. And it's important to have the right track record, because I like to think like a bank and put my bets in a similar way. So if you've got a new idea, as a banker, it's a new idea. It's not really going to work. The percentages are very low. And there's nothing wrong with copying people, because it's worked. And so I had a development over 4 or 5 different sites, 700 apartments, average value of £1 million. And I had to finish these apartments and keep the apartments, which is very difficult not to sell. So there was a year and a half of no income, just spending. And once that challenge was fulfilled, it wasn't just for me to know that I've done it. It's the banks to realize this guy, he does as he says, He knows what he's doing. And then the banks line up to start lending you more money.
Right. Wow. So, I mean, if we look to today, I mean, your business has indeed experienced tremendous growth. Today, you employ thousands of people in the UK. Have you grown along the way, so in a very smooth way? How did you do it? How did this growth come along? And how have you personally evolved as a manager to deal with the increased scale of operations?
Well, going back to the story of the 700 apartments, I was let down by a builder, and I thought this cannot happen again. So what I did was I bought a company that had builders, and we created up to 1,800 builders at one stage. And the people that you work with, you've got to try and find the talent to see who can take control and look after the assets that you have. And as you're buying hotels, it comes with staff. And then you just got to realize who's got the potential to stay with you long term. And they're respectful, obviously. And you take them to different positions in their, as an employee. So you give them the GM position, and then they control 2 hotels, then 3 hotels, and it goes on.
So you do place a lot of emphasis on the selection of the right people, and on sort of putting trust and
Absolutely. If I had the people that I have now, say, I don't know, 10 years ago, my size of portfolio would be, say, 5 times bigger, without a doubt. Because I need the confidence. You can't just go and buy something, and you've got to have the plan and the people to look after it, because you can't be there all the time.
Absolutely. And yet, I know that you're quite a hands-on entrepreneur. I know that you oversee personally most of that. And with this scale of operations, how do you cope?
Πελανίσκω τους. Ώσπου να το καταλάβουν, they have to understand this is how you have to do it, you know? And it's the only way. Attention to detail can screw a business up and you can make the wrong decision. And then if you can buy an asset and if it fails, it can bring the rest of your portfolio.
Absolutely.
So, but as you get bigger, you reduce the risks of how much money you invest.
It's a diversification also, strategy. Absolutely. That is indeed very impressive. Given that we're here in Cyprus, I don't know how much operation already you've had in Cyprus, but what are your views about, I mean, we've seen the economic analysis earlier, what are your views about the Cyprus real estate sector, the economy in general, what Cyprus should be doing?
We've got very clever, smart people. I mean, listening to everybody tonight, they've studied in the UK, I understand, and they brought their brains and the personality in the way that, for me, the UK is the best place for me to invest, purely because of the law, the governance, the decorum. There is rules there, and those rules can't be broken. So I think Cyprus, going back to your question, Cyprus should copy a lot of successful countries. And when it does that, okay, then it's not embarrassing. You're just doing because you know it works. So for me, looking at real estate over here, nothing's factual, you know, like the title plans, just small things like this, which when you're going to invest 100 million, you can't do that.
No.
You can't.
So would you have advice to somebody, maybe in the audience, who wants to build a successful business in the real estate sector?
No, for me, the real estate is the best business in the world, because you can buy a £100 million asset. You need one person to look after it. And there's not many businesses you can do that. And then you watch the rent coming in.
Absolutely. So I'm sure people might be lining up to understand how to buy their first studio apartment and how to get their first 100 million loan after that.
But developing is the hardest, the most dangerous part of real estate, because there's no income, as I said earlier. And the banks, they obviously want to charge you more because of the risk. But if you're going to buy a £100 million building, and the bank, subject to the tenant, if it's a PLC and it's the right position, you know, you're going to get in England, you're going to get a yield anything from, say, 3% to 5%. And if the bank lends you the money at 2%, it should be less, but let's be negative. If it's 2%, then look at the big margin. When you're talking about a big income like that, and then you have to asset manage it, obviously, it's tenanted, the money's coming in, but you have to re-gear the leases and improve the income. And then within, if you get it right, within 10 years, it should have gone up, you know, at least by 50%. So you do 10 of them, and then all of a sudden...
So it's a beautiful business.
Yeah, it's the best.
The best. So zooming in on you personally, John, do you have a role model, somebody you admire most?
Well, personally, I was a bros figure. I don't know if you know, in 1974, I was 9 years old, and my father lost everything.
From which place?
Gaimaglin.
You ended up in Gaimaglin, or you were prospects from Gaimaglin?
Well, because the line had to be divided and we had to go and leave because they were so close, nobody was in Gaimaglin. Everybody had to Scarpa, you know, go to south, right?
Okay.
So everything was left. So we lived in a derelict house, deciding what to do. Anyway, my father, as I said, lost everything. So as a role model to me, taking us to the UK with £200 and a man who couldn't speak English. To me, it's very ballsy to do that because you don't know where you're going to go. And thank God, you know, the UK was the right place. That's my first role model. And then you get people like Muhammad Ali, Arnold Schwarzenegger. Muhammad Ali, he was, obviously his colour, at that time, it was really against him. And he went against the government, he didn't want to go to Vietnam, etc., etc. And he created a lot of belief from a lot of people just by the game of boxing, and his morals and what's right and what's wrong. So I admire that because what he achieved because of his colour and the difficulties at the time. But then you get somebody like Arnold Schwarzenegger from Austria, crazy accent, right? You think, what's he going to do? And obviously he was a movie star, and he ended up being the governor of California.
Absolutely.
And Cyprus GDP is about 21 billion, and the California GDP is around 2.7 trillion. So it's like 100,000 times more. So look at what he achieved from a sport.
Yeah, from Austria.
From Austria, that's right. So it's the dream. I like the underdog, and that's what makes me admire someone.
Yeah, the underdog that believes, that has a dream, and perseveres through sort of the difficulties of life. That's indeed very impressive. And I smiled when you said Muhammad Ali, because you are not a stranger to boxing yourself. You're not a professional boxer, but I think you've been doing boxing, or you're doing boxing.
Oh, I love boxing. I think boxing is, when you do 12, 15-hour days per day working, you've got tension. Your brain has to clear, and by doing various exercises like boxing, and you're in the ring and you're boxing someone, you've got to find ways. You're using your brain how to escape, how to attack. It's similar to business. But overall, you keep fit, and it's important. It's not just about making money. You have to look after yourself.
That is absolutely right. So if we want to expand this a little bit, how do you take care of John beyond sort of perhaps fitness? How do you maintain a state of balance and self-fulfillment, life fulfillment?
You need a wife that listens and understands.
Is she here?
She's not here, but she has a bigger, important role than I have.
Okay.
Because she has to look after the kids and bring the kids up in the right way, but the right support. Right. Because Monday to Friday, no one sees me. No, not at all. But then the weekends, I put it to my family. I take 2 months off a year. I like the water, so I escape.
2 months?
Yeah.
2 full months a year?
Yeah, so the kids will get up and we'll do family stuff. The kids will go to bed. And then when everyone's asleep, I get back onto my emails and I catch up. And then I get up early and I'd spend a couple of hours doing that as well. So, but it's important for me because, you were talking earlier on about, leaving what you're going to leave behind, where's you're going to go to, etc., etc. Yeah. And finding, who's the right guy who's going to get more percentage, and hopefully the picture of a look in the fence, they're all equal, and they share. But you never know, right? It's a very difficult decision because you enjoy to eat the fish when you catch it rather than having the fish on the table. And living in Monaco, it's not. It's very comfortable, but we have to bring them to reality, and I bring them to Cyprus to make them realize what it's all about. And referring back to that presentation, indeed, one of the key challenges is how to maintain that entrepreneurial spirit in the generations that follow, because they live through very difficult circumstances. Yeah. Look, I don't have any help at home. I don't want any help. My kids, they do chores. They get pocket money. They have to do something. They get nothing otherwise. And when they do something wrong, they get their iPads taken away for a very long time, and sometimes up to a month or two. But you have to be extra strict. I mean, my dad used to always say, "Turn the light off." He used to drive me mad. Turn the light off. It's visto fos, but then you realise after when you get older. So I try and instill some things the way I was treated as a kid, and to bring them to mind, but with an advanced
philosophy or
exactly the way that we are, where life is taking us right now.
Life, absolutely. That is very good principles. So I would like to spend some time talking about your activity in philanthropy. You are a very active philanthropist. You have launched the Yianis Christodoulou Foundation, and you're the president of the Jubilee Sailing Trust, both in Monaco and in Cyprus. Please talk to us a little bit about these activities and why they mean so much to you.
When I went to the UK in 1974, I went to a school in England and I couldn't speak a word of English. But I couldn't wait to go to the playground. And it was the Jubilee, which was 40 years ago. And in the playground, there was a fair. There was a fun fair. And then I thought, this is a brilliant country. This school has got a fun fair. But then I realized every school had a fun fair. And everybody had, in the streets, there was carnivals because of the Queen. Okay? And she created the Jubilee.
Okay.
That's what it was called. And then a year and a half ago, I had the Queen's people who have got the Jubilee. They said, look, we like what you do about children, because that's what my charity is about, all about children. And we want to do some business together, where we can collaborate and start working. And we've got two ships. There's two big pirate ships called Tenacious and Lord Nelson.
Okay.
And when I did my homework about those ships, literally 45,000 people have been on the ships. And these people, they're disabled. They're not, you can literally go onto, from the gangway with a wheelchair. And you can go and get pulled on top of the mast. And for disabled kids and people in itself, they need to feel something is worth living, you know, and amazing. To experience and keep their mind ticking about something to look forward to. Anyway, so I spoke to them about things that I didn't see were correct, about what they should change, and they changed everything. So I said, okay, great. So I was presented with the role at Windsor Castle, and now we're working together with the names that you just saw on the earlier TV.
Yeah, and it's very impressive and very touching that you offer so much in that space, and especially, as you say, to people that wouldn't have those opportunities otherwise.
But you get to 50 and you think, what's it all about?
Yeah.
You know, what is it all about? Okay, but the most important thing is to enjoy, and if you don't enjoy, just don't do it, because you're never going to be any good. So I love property, and I'm still going to do property, but I want to take, say, 30% of my time and to devote something to me, and I don't want to put myself on a pedestal, but to make $1 million, it's going to make me happy, sure, but to see kids smile, that's worth more. So I'm privileged. Thank you.
If you haven't been on the internet to actually see videos and details about this, you don't really fully appreciate the impact that it has on those people. So I think it was a very well-deserved, spontaneous applause. So, John, what lies ahead for you? I mean, you keep saying you're 53. I don't see you ready to put the gloves on the ring, off the ring. So, do you have any visions, any aspirations that you haven't fulfilled yet?
I'm still looking to expand the charity. A friend of mine, George Bambolidis, helps me a lot to take me to the right places as the ex-health minister. He says, John, these guys, and obviously we get into conversations, and then he opens the door and we go in there, we do what we do, and I thank you, George, because we did the first project, and it's because of you, and really appreciate it a lot. We go to, sorry guys, you got to clap, seriously, because it really was for George that he opened the door for me to do this. There's in Guy Maglin, there's like, to me it's like an orphanage that, okay, they have got parents, but the parents are not the right type of parents to look after the kids in this home.
Provides that.
It provides the teachers and everything, so we cleaned the whole place out. We made computers and things to learn English, etc. But in my old school in Guy Maglin, we went and did the basketball court You know, we did also some computers within the classrooms, and we're doing another two tomorrow. I don't know if you heard about one of the kids that died playing basketball, and he fell over and he went to the hospital, and anyway he died, and that was sad to me. Just said, okay, let's go and make that basketball court. Yeah, we got a competition about keeping fit and healthy, and people have put in artistic drawings about how to keep fit. So I'm doing a lot of that, and I'm enjoying that a lot. I hope to do a lot more in Cyprus with this, and perhaps do some business at the same time.
That would be great. So any concluding thoughts, any final remarks, any thoughts or reflections from your life that you would like to share with us in conclusion?
I'm pretty content. If I'm not happy, and I'll go back to being happy, you have to be happy. If you're not happy, you ask yourself questions, and you should beat yourself up until you find the answer. Because if you don't, you're just going to carry on like the same way. And you need always challenges. You know, you have to have challenges in your life. And
well, John, before this interview, everybody was saying, and it's true, that you're a very private person and that you're a very difficult person to actually get on stage. So I want to give you my personal sort of big thank you for being so open, so transparent, so willing to share your stories and your values and your passions. So I think a big round of applause for John Christodoulou.
thank you. Can I just say, Baniko Efradisto, for inviting me here. John Hurricane, tonight we're going to drink some Zivania because we're going to try and make you stay in Cyprus. Thank you.